see it for quite a few reasons. The main reason is because somebody a long time ago invented the light bulb. And after that, everybody wanted one. You know how that is. Like the latest, greatest computer and everything. So, and we wanted to have it at night because, so we could maybe read a book at night in our home. It was a lot easier than candlelight. And then outside, we wanted to feel safe when we're walking maybe from one house to another or driving on a street. You know, in the dark, it was not so easy. So maybe by moonlight you could do it in the old days before they had light bulbs. And they might have a gas lantern or something on the coach or whatever. But since the light bulb, Earth is gaining more and more artificial human light. And because of that, we call that light pollution, and that washes out our beautiful night sky. So a lot of the things, what we're looking at, that's what they used to see. And we don't see it anymore. I mean, we have to make an effort now. I don't see it when I go outside in my yard. I have a street light right across the street from my house. I have to go somewhere, like the lake or a dark, a park where it's not that well lit, maybe the parking lot, but you could go on a trail or go camping and it's really dark, and then you'll see the Milky Way, our galaxy. Now, everything you see in here actually tonight is part of our galaxy. The Milky Way is our home galaxy. In the winter time and early spring, I do show something that's outside of our galaxy, but I won't be doing that tonight because it's not visible at all. Because it is now summertime. Since yesterday, did you know that? Yeah, yesterday was the first day of summer. So anyway, back to the Milky Way. There it is in all its glory. And so like I said, go where it's really nice and dark. Take that opportunity. National parks like out west, it's really great too. Oh, and another problem we have, I think especially in the south, but out west too in the summertime when it's really, really hot. You know how have you ever looked down a highway and the highway looks like it's kind of shimmering and waving? Mm-hmm. And that's the heat waves. And that happens as the heat rises too. So when we're looking up at the night sky, it distorts what you see as well. So what we're seeing in here is pretty special. So let's take a closer look at Jupiter before I take the circle away from Jupiter. And there's actually another planet. I'm going to circle that one and then we'll take a look at both of them. And I should have shown you Mercury sooner too, but now Mercury's dipped down below the west. But we're going to take a closer look at these two. This is the planet with the rings around it. Saturn, that's right. So those are the two you can see. So let's fly closer to Jupiter. I'm going to jump in our rocket here and get a closer look. And I'm going to get a teeny bit closer. Wow. And what's interesting, I don't know if any of you are familiar with pictures of Jupiter, but they like to show pictures normally when you see that storm on Jupiter. It's usually, the pictures I always see, it's this kind of, it looks like an eye shape in this level here. And, but we're looking at the side of Jupiter that's actually facing Earth tonight. So my new computer system has it set up so we can see it accurately the way it's really supposed to be tonight. So we don't see that storm, which often when you see pictures, that's where they show it. So I'm going to take Jupiter back down to size. And then we're going to take a look at Saturn. That's pretty cool too. So that's something we can do is take a closer look at the planets and its beautiful rings. All right, so let's take a look at star patterns. Does anyone know what the word is for star patterns?
Constellations.
Yeah, constellations. So we're going to take a look at constellations. I'm going to take, I already took away the date. Good. Because I like to declutter my sky. And it is summertime now. So I'm going to start off by showing you the most famous summer star pattern. And I'll tell you why I'm calling it a star pattern. And I'm looking for my summer. There it is. Of course, with the big sun. There's a flower one for spring, so I think, ooh, is that summer? Okay, so what shape is that? A triangle. But guess what? It is not a constellation. That's right. It's something we call an asterism. An asterism is the thing that stands out to you when you look up at the sky at night, and your eye is first drawn to it. So this triangle is an asterism. It's called the summer triangle. It is made up of the brightest star of 3 constellations. So I'm going to pop those up, and we'll take a little look at those 3. So these are the constellations, and their bright star, also known as their alpha star, makes up the summer triangle, and it's probably the most famous thing to look for in the summer, and it's probably one of the easiest things to spot, even though we have that light pollution I was talking about. So the first one here, the star's name is Deneb. It's in the beautiful constellation Cygnus the Swan. And that's the whole constellation. Now, what's inside of the swan? What shape is that? Yes, I heard somebody whisper it over there. It's a cross. And we call that part of the swan the Northern Cross. And guess what? It again is not a constellation. It's that new word you just learned, an asterism. Because the cross portion of Cygnus the Swan is probably the part you're going to be able to see, even with our light pollution. And I'll go ahead and put up our swan. And they say that swan is flying through the Milky Way. So there's Cygnus the Swan. Now his eye, actually this we call the eye of the swan, but the picture shows the eye here. But the star at the end here is a double star called Alberio. And Cygnus is actually the Latin word for swan. The next constellation here is Lyra, and Lyra is a harp. So we'll take a look at this little harp, and it is a small harp, something you could carry around. It was portable and very ancient. And then the last constellation is Aquila, and Aquila is another bird. It's a beautiful eagle. And let me find it. There he is. So there we have Aquila, the eagle. And he's holding this little boy. He kidnapped this little boy. He was instructed by Zeus to kidnap him to be the servant or the cupbearer to the gods and the goddesses that they used to believe in back then. And so his name was Ganymede. And actually, I forgot, since we have little ones here, I'm going to go back. I'm going to take away these pictures, because I have some really cute pictures that we usually should reserve for children. And those are a lot of fun. There they are. Like his eyes are like very googly, aren't they? Like, oh my gosh, I'm flying up in the sky. So those are the summer constellations, 3 of them. Now, here's a famous constellation. They talked about it in the show. What is it?
The Little Dipper.
Yeah, the Big Dipper. And to see it a little easier, let me go and I'm going to turn the sky, and I'm going to actually turn off the, just kind of watch where those, well, I'll leave the circles up on the planets, because we're going to go later into the night, and then you can kind of see how they cross the sky, and we'll talk about that. But what I'm going to do is spin the sky, so we're facing north. I know you're going to get all dizzy now. And then we're going to talk about the Big Dipper a little bit. And one thing I want to talk to you about also before we go into a lot of detail with the Big Dipper is, let's see, where is he? There he is. I just want to review a little bit with you. What rises every morning in the east and crosses the sky?
The sun.
The sun. And it looks like it's crossing the sky. Is it really moving across the sky like that?
No.
No. What's moving?
Us.
The earth. We are. And what is that movement called? That's the tough question. Begins with an R.
Revolve.
Yeah, rotation. You can also say spinning, because I usually say that, we're spinning like a big top in outer space. So because of that rotation, all night long you're going to see different things too, not just when you're observing the sun. And that whole process, one rotation, takes 24 hours. And as we get closer to midnight, you'll kind of see that movement because the Earth does not stop rotating. And that's important to remember all this because of something we're going to discover together in just a moment. So we call these two stars our pointer stars. So I'm going to show you how to find a few things with the Big Dipper. We're going to take these two pointer stars, we draw an imaginary line to this star right here. It is a bright star, but it's not as bright as some of the ones, like the three in the triangle. It ranks only about number 48 or 49 in brightness, if you were ranking all those stars that you see from planet Earth. But it's probably the most important star in the night sky. What could it be? Yeah, the North Star. Now, does anybody know its scientific name? Polaris. That's its scientific name. So let's see. It is at the tail end of the Little Dipper. But like I showed you, use these two stars in the Big Dipper to find it. And once you've found it, like I know I don't even have to do this anymore because I discovered a long time ago that this star was between my neighbor's, his house and a tree in my yard at a certain level. And I just have to go, boom, there it is, okay? And I know that's the North Star, unless it's like a really misty night or whatever. So once you have found it, like at your place, it's always going to be there. So that's something maybe you could try to do. Now close to the North Star and the two dippers are a few other constellations I want to point out to you. These three right here. What does that one look like?
House.
Guess what? It's not a house. They had really good imaginations back then. And another fun thing to do when you go home is when you look at these patterns, see if you can come up with some other ideas of what you're looking at. So maybe you think it's a house. Yeah, square with a triangle on top. I've heard people say, what? Ooh, somebody's hungry. He said a big piece of cake. Yeah, the slab of cake. That's right, the icing's right there. So, or it could be a little rocket, or a stubby pencil, a piece of cheese. You hungry too?
Yes.
So anyway, have fun with your imagination when you're looking at these patterns. Come up with some of different ideas. But this is actually a king. And you go, Okay, well, I'll show you the king later on. And who's the king usually married to? What's she called?
A prince.
A queen. So this is King Cephas, and Queen Cassiopeia, the queen of the skies. And then this crazy squiggly thing is Draco the dragon. And I'll show you all their pictures later on. But these 5 constellations, or these 5 star patterns, they go in a counterclockwise fashion, kind of like planet Earth, and they look like they're circling around the North Star Polaris, so they gave them a name. They're called the circumpolar constellations. So what I'm going to do now is take us to midnight, and so you might start getting sleepy. It's probably past everybody's bedtime, even mine. And we'll see what's happening. And remember, we'll kind of take a look at the planets and look at the constellations that are up there, and also kind of pay attention to the North Star. You'll see the clock ticking. More stars are going to be setting in the west, more rising. The planets are going to be right overhead. And these guys change position too. But did this star move?
Nope.
No. It's the only star we see from planet Earth that looks like it's not moving. And it's a pretty simple reason, although you could probably have a 30 to 1 hour dissertation on it. But it's basically its location. It is located directly over planet Earth, over the center of planet Earth. So if you were standing at that center point and looking up, it would be right over your head, and it would always be there. And it's simply because it's located over the center. If it was just off center, so let me see if I can help you understand a little bit. If you went to and it's located at the North Pole, and it comes out at the South Pole, but you can't see the North Star from the South Pole. These are all the Northern Hemisphere stars. And some of them you can see in the Southern Hemisphere. But for the most part, like I think you probably could see Cassiopeia in the Southern Hemisphere, a little bit of her. Because we're able to see, if we're at a lower latitude, we can see some of the Southern Hemisphere constellations. But anyway, so say you're on the North Pole and you find that center point. You stand there. You put a carousel there, a merry-go-round, and you know a merry-go-round it has that center post that anchors it to the ground. And that post does not move. It's where the rides are going around. And if that post was super tall, like light years tall, it would hit that star. And then you know how you're on the merry-go-round and you're on the ride